Welcome to Market Mavericks. I'm Matthew Eford. Join me as I speak with leaders who are redefining industries in every corner of the market. From startups to established businesses, we'll uncover the strategies, challenges, and insights that drive success. Get ready to be inspired by the Mavericks who are shaping the future of business. Welcome, everybody, to Market Mavericks. I'm your host, Matthew Eford, and I'm so excited to have my new friend here with me, Randy Hain. Before I get to Randy, I've got a short ad to read from our sponsor here. Are you looking to brighten up your future? Join Lighting Pros franchise. As a leading name in premium outdoor lighting solutions, we're looking for passionate entrepreneurs to light up homes and businesses nationwide. Whether you're looking to solve your off-season winter blues, or you're looking for a growing year-round opportunity, with our proven business model, comprehensive training, and ongoing support, you'll be set to shine in no time. Low startup costs, high demand, and a glowing reputation, Lighting Pros is your path to success. Visit lightingprosfranchise.com today and spark your new career. That's lightingprosfranchise.com. Let's illuminate the future together. So excited to have Lighting Pros as our partner here. But Randy, I'm so thankful that John Ray, a mutual friend of ours, connected us. Mm-hmm. And John called me a couple weeks ago. He said, Matthew, I've got a guy you've got to have on the podcast. So I'm so excited to have you on the podcast. You're an author. You have many books. One of this, the Practical Virtue, which I'm so excited to talk about. This is your new book. So you've got several more. They're over my shoulder for those who are watching. I've got a stack of those. And actually, I have 3 copies of this that I've got that I want to give out. So if you will comment, the first 3 people that comment on this episode across any platform, I will send you this book as long as you're within the United States. With that said, Randy, if you will come online, introduce yourself. What's your business? What's your background in the business world? And then I want to get into your book.
Yeah, listen, Matthew, thanks for having me. It's an honor to be here, and John Ray is a great guy and a good friend, so I'm really appreciative of his referral. I wear a number of different hats. So first and foremost, I'm Sandra's husband, and I'm married up.
I love that.
I married a
I'm in that
wonderful woman. I've been
classification
married to
too.
her for 30 years. And we've got 2 adult sons, and I'm an executive coach and a leadership consultant and an author. And I've been doing that work really exclusively for the last 13, 14 years. Before that, I spent 25 years in corporate America running companies and divisions and practices within much bigger businesses.
Wow.
But daily through my Serviam Partners business, I do executive coaching. I do leadership consulting through the Leadership Foundry that I co-own, and I write books to help people. So
I love that. I love that so much. So let me make sure we touch on this just for a period of time, because we have a large part of our audience that we would consider as entrepreneurs. They either have a side hustle they're trying to make their main hustle, or they're in corporate America like you for 25 years, and they're looking to take that next step. Talk us back to when you left and you started your business. Talk us through that first kind of 12 to 24 month period. What was that journey like? What are some things, some nuggets that you can pull out of that for our audience that you learned?
You know, it's really funny. I'm happy to talk about this, but I just want to be honest. I'm not really a very entrepreneurial person.
Okay.
I felt a compulsion to do this work. I love coaching. I've always loved coaching. I would describe myself as a coaching style leader when I used to lead businesses.
Cool.
And I just felt drawn more and more to doing that work. But my wife was a stay-at-home mom. Our older son has autism.
Okay.
My younger son is in private school. So we did not have all this great flexibility. I didn't have a big nest egg that just allowed me to go do it. I really felt drawn to this work. So I guess I'm not a classic entrepreneur in that I felt a compulsion to do work I loved. But what I did is I spent 12 months mapping out what would it look like.
Wow.
I interviewed everybody that was in this business that I thought knew what they were doing. I interviewed them. I gathered best practices. I had the model ready. I went ahead and incorporated Serviam Partners, which is my company name. And when I was ready to hit the ground, I hit the ground running. I knew what I needed to do. I also did something that I would advise your corporate folks that are thinking about making a move to do. I went to 10 clients who were also friends, and I said, I'm about to make this leap. Here's the offering. And I'm not asking for a contract, but if I came to you with this kind of work, would I be someone you'd hire? Every one of them said, I want to work with you.
Wow.
So I knew I had
Wow. Okay.
clients ready to go.
Yeah.
So I hit the ground running and have never looked back. It's been just a great journey now for the last 14 or 15 years.
I love that so much. What a wise approach to do, Randy, as a leader in your family, as a leader in an organization, that you didn't just jump one day, you didn't wake up and say, I'm going to get into business ownership. You did in a way, but you took that 12-month period to lay an incredible framework that you've had a lot of success from. So, talk us through some of those questions that you were asking people in the coaching space, if you don't mind. What was some of the
Sure.
information you're trying to gather that helped you lay that roadmap for success that you found?
I first of all, I sought out people who I thought were doing a good job in the coaching world. I
Okay,
went to the folks that I felt had a good reputation. So I wanted to go straight to the ones that seemed to have made it. And I asked a lot of questions about what are your best practices? What are some of the things that you employ to be effective? I asked a lot of them about, how do you manage the day-to-day finances? How do you do the feast or famine, which is really inherent in all consulting
sure.
businesses. And I really knew what to expect. I knew how to manage cash flows. I knew the fee structure. A lot of them were very forthcoming about, what was the sort of the way that you price yourself in this market. Knowing John Ray he's a good guy to know in that
Yeah, yeah.
regard, of course. But so I knew going in where to position myself. I had my frameworks all built out. And I will also tell you, my first year, Serviam probably did 6 or 7 different things. But I wanted to try everything that I was interested in. But today, I really only do a couple of things. So that first year was, let's see what sticks, let's see what works. But I eventually winnowed out some of the things that were not effective.
Okay,
And now I only focus on my core work, which I really feel drawn to.
okay. So let's talk through that kind of evaluation process. So many, I've got
Sure.
a individual that I'm helping in a mentorship role outside of our franchise organization. It's a different business model. And one of the things that she had said is, she was trying to take any client that would come to her. It didn't care what it was; they were just paying. And so, but what
Mhm.
happens is now, several years down the road, she sees herself and she's spread in all these different areas, but she has this one sweet spot where she's profitable, where she can make the most impact. And I'm encouraging her to focus on that area, right? So for you, Randy, talk us through your evaluation process of how you cut off revenue, you cut off things that you could be doing but weren't best
Right.
use for you. What was that process like?
I think you've got to start with just basic time management and prioritization. I mean, I've only got so many minutes in the day. And I really wanted to continue honoring this work that I love, which is coaching other leaders. That's what I love. Helping leaders remove obstacles to their success. That's the thing that gets me juiced. I get up in the morning excited to do it. So the career coaching, I don't speak all over the country anymore. I used to do that. I don't do, I used to do a lot of onboarding for different leaders. I
Okay,
really started to eliminate that and just do the executive coaching. So I do, typically senior leaders for Fortune 10,000 companies.
okay,
I do leadership team development, but I really had to get locked and loaded on those things that I felt, God had given me some gifts to do well.
sure,
I love the work and it's the most profitable work. But something else that I'll throw in the mix, and I think that this is going to click with you along the way, because I'm a believer, you're a believer, I can also tell you that I also recognize that I needed to give away a lot of work.
sure,
I donate a lot of my time. I mentor a lot of young people, other leaders. If someone's looking for a job, I don't look at the fee. I look at where can we grab coffee and I'll talk to you and help you any way I can.
sure.
I give away most of my books. I give away books probably more than I sell them. my point is, yes, I do know what I feel called to do, and that's what my business is about. But I also spend a lot of time giving away work, and I'm really grateful that I have the ability to do both.
I love that. And I love that perspective. And something that John and I have talked about, and I'm sure you have as well, is the perspective of when we're pricing appropriately for our services for the most value that we're creating, it gives us a
Mhm.
flexibility to be generous with donations, with our time, with our resources. We can donate to our church, we can donate to local nonprofits, we can donate to our community, we can donate of our time, right? If you're not charging what's appropriate for you for the work that you're doing, how can you be able to mentor and still provide for your family, right? I love that you're modeling that. I fully support that. I think that's fantastic. So let's talk about your book for a second. I know that's one of the reasons why we got connected. This has a specific audience in mind, right? This is talk to us about your book and about the intended audience. I love the way it's written. By the way, you're a wonderful writer.
Thank you.
Um,
Thank you.
I love the way that it's so tangible that you can pick any chapter. It's a couple of pages, and so I just open up chapter 21's reflection, and you're just teaching
Mhm.
on these specific virtues. That's
Mhm.
5 pages worth of content that somebody can easily digest, maybe a morning devotion, maybe just
Mhm.
a practical time with a team. We're going to take one of these a week for the next half year, and our leadership team, we're going to read
Mhm.
this and talk about it. I love the intentionality. So, but tell me, who is this specifically for?
So that is my 12th book. And last October, late October, I had just written my 11th book, which is Becoming a More Thoughtful Leader. And it dawned on me that over the last 15 or 16 years, I have written about virtue probably about 35 or 40 times. And when I say virtue, when you think about humility, generosity, candor, clarity, these are all virtues. St. Thomas Aquinas said that there are actually 64 virtues.
Okay.
There's the big seven, we know, theological and cardinal,
Yeah.
but then there's 57 that support the seven. So I write a lot about virtue, and I said, why don't I just call these leadership skills virtues, name what virtue it is, alphabetize it, but let's write something that is specifically for Generation Z and early career professionals. So
Love that.
roughly 21 to early 30s.
Yeah.
Why would I pick that audience? In my estimation, I'd love to get your take. We do a terrible job of investing in that generation.
Sure.
We wait until they get into their 30s and either they figure it out or they get lucky and maybe they've got access to a coach or maybe they get some leadership development. I think we need to pour everything we've got into helping them right now. And it's my generation. I'm a Gen Xer, but I think millennials, Xers, and boomers need to take a look at Gen Z and say these young people are going to run the world really soon. I'm excited about that. But we owe it to them to make an investment. So this book is meant to be a bridge to a better career, a better life, and to help them become better leaders. And that's why I wrote it.
I love it. Well, I'm excited. I'm using it, just so you know, I'm using this with our team. So one of the things
Oh,
to your point is within our organization, the way I say it is when we're onboarding somebody, one of the first conversations they have with me as an employee is welcome to the team. And I go ahead and set out some parameters that we've already gone through our culture card. We've already talked about that during the interview process, their second interview, right? That they've at this point they've signed their paperwork, that they've signed off on our culture card. And I tell them again, this is our culture, this is what we do. But part of this, one of our core values is share growth, be better today than you were yesterday. We have a mentality of growth. We have a mentality of improving. We have a mentality of investing in ourselves. And one of the clarifications that I give to all of our employees is there will be a season where you leave us. I know
mhm,
that this season that you work with us is a defined season. My goal is to elongate that season. But even if you
mhm,
retire with me, you will
mhm,
leave. You're not going to be here forever. You will retire. Eventually, you will leave. And my job as the leader here is that you will leave better. So we
mhm.
structure the way that we mentor people. We structure the way that we do an all staff day. We bring everybody in from across the state, bring them in. It's a full day event. We do 5 things. And one of those 5 things is personal development. It can be to help them do their job better, sure. But it can be, okay, let's talk about just a practical virtue. So that's one of the things we're going to be using this book for is I want you to be just to be a better human. I want you to be a better dad, a better husband, a better mom, a better wife, a better leader in your home, in the community, right? If we do that well, our business benefits because the level of expectation with our customer service continues to thrive. That which
Mhm.
okay, then you get into some of the back end. Better customer service leads to more referrals, leads to less customer callbacks, less customer complaints, more online presence because it's good online presence, or more, excuse me, more good online presence, and better retention. All the things that a business owner wants. How do you get that? You invest in your people. So I love that you're doing that.
Mhm.
Okay, now how are you using this with this book? How do you see this being used by business owners, by leaders, by somebody who's listening to this that would find themselves as a Gen Zer that says, hey, I want to get that book? How do you see them using and applying your book?
So, a couple of different answers to that question, and it's a good one. I'm really blessed to be able to go on college campuses a lot.
Okay,
I'm on the business school at Samford University in
nice.
Birmingham, where
Yeah,
my
yeah.
younger son went to school. And I get to go speak to the students 8 to 10 times a year. And
Wow.
I always bring boxes of books for them. And so I give them the book, and then we just have a facilitated Q&A. So getting to spend time with them, learning from them, which is a big deal. I'm not there to lecture. I'm there to talk with and
Cool.
listen and not just teach. So I think that's a really good way to use the book. But when I think about where I think the book is activated and comes to life, it's when a Gen Z reader is paired up with a mentor.
Okay.
Now, you can find this mentor on your own. Maybe right now, if you're listening, you're a Gen Z and you've got your own mentor. That's fine. Buy the book, buy a copy for your mentor, and sit down and go on that journey together. Check in with that mentor once a month. If you're a mentor and you've got mentees, or you think that you'd like to get time with young professionals, give copies of the book to them, but don't just give them the book. Offer to spend time with them once a month. Have a cup of coffee. And when you're meeting with them, I want you to follow this very simple formula. Don't sit down and lecture and talk about all the great times in your life. I want you to tell all the stories, all the war stories, including your failures.
Yeah.
Tell them when you've struggled. Give them insight into how you've learned. They're starving for insight and knowledge, but don't just tell them your life was fantastic. Tell them everything about your life. So I think if mentors like you and I and older people can sit down with a young professional, go on the book with them, be that guide, this book will come to life. And I've seen anecdotally hundreds of examples of that already. The book's only been out 7 weeks, but I'm getting emailed constantly where that is what's happening. And it's really fun to watch. And I feel very grateful that it is happening.
I love that. I love that perspective. So let me talk to the millennial, Gen X, and boomers that are listening to this because we kind of hit all demographics with our podcast,
Sure.
which is incredible. If you're not mentoring somebody, let me give a plug just to mentor. What I found in my life is I need three people, three main categories. I need somebody that's mentoring me. I need somebody that's my motivator, that's somebody beside me, that's doing life alongside me. I need somebody that I'm mentoring, my three M's. Um, when I find a mentee, somebody for me to mentor, I look back over my life, and when I'm mentoring somebody, I see the most growth in my life because I'm also holding myself to a higher level of accountability, right? Because I have somebody who's I'm helping mentor, but also I'm reading this book and I'm like, oh wow, this is really good information, right? This was not directly written to me, which I love that you have the clarification of who this is written to you, but there's some incredible wisdom for me to glean out of this. And then exactly what you said about going to Sanford, it is this opportunity not for me just to sit here and say, "Hey, look at me on my ivory tower about how the all the great things I've done." It makes it very practical. So as a man of faith, what it does is it opens up my testimony to say, "Hey, this is what the Lord has done through me. I am not perfect. I
Mhm.
have failed so many times. Let's talk about some of them. let's take away the stigma around you've got to be perfect as a Christian, especially a Christian in the business world. Nope. This is what it looks like to be a follower of Jesus Christ. We're going to fall along the way, but our goal is to continue to seek after him day after day and get closer to him. And that transparency, man, is so life-giving to you as the mentor. So don't miss that. But I love that you're
One of the
getting
most
these
attractive
responses back.
things, one of the most attractive things in any leader I've ever worked with that I respected was vulnerability.
Yeah.
Vulnerability, be vulnerable. Let people in, let people see the warts, let them see all the bad stuff because that makes you more real, more
Yeah.
accessible. I can relate to you because it sounds like you failed and you're a screw up just like me, you know? I have been around people that they've got so many great war stories and everything is amazing and they score touchdowns every day. I'm turned off by that
Me
because I know it's
too.
not real.
Yeah.
Tell me when you blew it and you screwed up and you got fired from a job and you did this or did that. That's real because I see that you've made your life into something special, but it sounds like you learned from your mistakes. Tell me about that.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. And what vulnerability leads to on your team is trust with who you're
Yeah.
mentoring and who you're leading. That you're, let's take it to the business owner, right? You have a small team that you're leading, or the professional that's leading a small team. Those people, whether you know it or not, they know your failings. They know not maybe all the details, but they know that you're not perfect. And so as you hold this imperfect view of perfection, it's not candid. It's not actually true. Obviously, there's so many holes that can get shot in that. But as you open yourself up to say, hey, you know what? One of the things I tell my team is, I'm sorry, made a mistake.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm going to do better, because that's one of our
Mhm.
core values: is be better today than we were yesterday. Like, so I'm going to continue to strive to be better. We have a
Mhm.
culture that we've created within our organization of trying to grow and expand, which means we're going to fail because we're doing things today that we've never done before. We're pushing the
Mhm.
envelope, pushing out into new territory. Of course, we're going to make mistakes. If we only walk this smooth, proven path, it's like we're not going to grow very much, right?
Mhm.
We're going to
Mhm. Right.
try to push ourselves out. So I love that you're doing that. Okay, so talk to me, Randy, when you're coming in. So let's take it a little bit away from the book, but let's talk about your consulting.
Sure.
I love that you're doing that. When you're leading a team, when you're seeing some of these Fortune 10,000 companies, the ones that are making great impact in the world for their bottom line within the culture that they're serving, what are some pieces that you see specifically around their culture? Right, that's something that gets tossed around a lot. We've talked about it here on the podcast a bunch. What are some attributes, or what are some things that you see within their culture that can be transferable to our audience?
So I'm going to come at that a little differently, maybe than you expect.
Okay.
So as I work with individual executive leaders, I don't spend a lot of time on their culture as much as helping that leader thrive and be a good example in their culture.
Okay.
So when I think about culture, most companies have a plaque in their lobby that's got their five core values.
Sure.
This is what we're all about.
Sure.
And those are important, but I don't often find that that is being practiced inside the four walls. So when I encounter a leader or a team, I look at it as, okay, I've been placed here to help this leader become the best version of themselves.
I love that.
So I think about helping that leader look in the mirror, think about, how do I identify the obstacles between me and success? How do I help this leader overcome those obstacles, manage their stress better, and show up as a better leader? And I think when I do that, that activates and makes the culture better. So I'm not evading your question. I just want to tell you that's how I typically come at it, which is through the individual and through that individual to their team, helping them activate and be the best version of themselves. Because when I'm doing my job well and they're doing their part, they are going to be a force for good inside their company, which is going to help their culture. I hope that makes
Yeah,
sense.
no, it definitely does. I love that. I love that you're drilling down in what can they actually control themselves, right? I have young boys, and the message I consistently preach to them is, whose actions you're responsible for. It's yours.
Yeah.
Not your brother's.
Yeah.
It's not your mom and dad's.
Right.
It's not your friends. It's yours. You're responsible for your actions. And I love that you're helping take it to that point because it's so easy. I can remember in my professional life, it was so easy to point fingers at other people, right? As a young leader out of college, I didn't know what I was doing, right? And I had some very gracious business owners that I worked for, but it was really easy for me to just point my fingers at other people instead of taking ownership over myself and what was I contributing to. So when you're working with a client, does that engagement typically come from the organization, or does that typically come from the client themselves, that young
I'm
leader
almost
or that executive leader?
I'm almost exclusively hired by companies.
Cool.
So a company will hire me and engage me to work with a leader on their team. It's what I prefer. And this is one of those things that I kind of learned the hard way when I started my business. There were a lot of individuals that wanted to engage me. And I'm grateful for that. But typically the fees are not sustainable for an individual where it is
Sure.
from a company perspective.
Sure.
Also, honestly, when you know that the company is sponsoring you, there's a little bit more appropriate pressure for you to show up and take the work very seriously.
Yeah, sure.
So that's been my preference, and that's how I do it.
I love that. And it's showing that the business is investing in their team. They're investing in their leaders. They want them to be better. They want them to stay. They want them professionally to grow. I love that so much. So talk
This is
back.
something that you and, if I may, Matthew, I'm sorry,
Yeah,
but one thing I would share is with the individuals, I still help them, but that's probably where I'm going to give away my time. Listen, you're looking for some guidance. Why don't we grab a cup of coffee? I'll bring a couple of books that I think are relevant based on what you said. Read these, and then if you still need help, reach back out and I'll get on the phone with you. I usually find in those one or two conversations in the books, because I write very candidly, they usually get what they need and they save thousands of dollars by not
yeah.
having to engage someone.
I love that. Yeah, that's incredibly generous of you. So let's take it a little bit on its head. You are coaching, you are mentoring, but who is coaching you? Who is mentoring you? What has that process been like for you as a business owner? How have you leveraged coaching and mentorship for you, Randy, growing your organization? What does that look like?
So, again, I want to come at that question maybe a little differently. I certainly have had mentors in my life and people that have coached me, and I'm super grateful for that. But I've also always had a little bit of a wariness about listening to too many voices.
Sure,
Sometimes you can have too many people speaking into your life.
sure.
So I'm very selective and I'm a great borrower. So when I meet someone or see someone that I think is doing something really important and good work, I'll seek out that person and spend some time with them and just listen to them and just be super grateful for their time. And I always like to hang out with people smarter than me, which is most people,
Yeah,
you know. But I find that the more I'm just engaging and out there and listening, I'm an avid reader. I read a lot. I find that that's typically how I'm always learning. I take on the role of continuous learner.
cool.
I just hang out with people and read from resources that feed me. I pray a lot. I read the Bible. I study the lives of the church fathers. Again, I've got people in my life that are always given permission to speak, candidly into my life, and
Sure.
I treasure those few friends that really have that ability. My wife is a wonderful resource for me because she will call it the way it is, and I'm so grateful for that.
Oh, I love that.
But I have those people that are those candid voices that I just treasure, but they're few and very, very special in my life.
I love that. I love that distinction, and I love that you have them. He who walks with the wise becomes wise, but the companion of fools suffers harm. Proverbs 13:20. So that a lot on this podcast is part of the reason why I started it. But I love the fact that you're saying, hey, just because there's somebody that can talk doesn't mean they need to talk into my life. So I love that
Yeah.
distinction that you're doing. But as an avid reader, I'm an avid reader myself as well. Let's go over the last 6 months. What's a book that you've read that you would encourage our audience? Obviously, we're going to pick up your books, and I got a playful question to ask you at the end about those. But what's a book that you've read in the, let's say, the last 6 months or so that has had a big impact on you?
I must admit, John Ray told me you might ask me that question. So I actually I usually have a copy sitting next to me, and I'm going to show it to your audience. I highly recommend this book, Created for Greatness:
Okay.
The Power of Magnanimity. And I'll tell you why I recommend it.
Yeah,
It's
please.
a short read, it's like less than 90 pages, the best leadership book I've ever read.
Wow.
And
Okay.
Alex Savard, he is considered the world's leading authority on virtue at work. Go look
Nice.
him up, Virtuous Leadership. He's been writing about it for 25 years. But this book isolates the two most important virtues for leaders: magnanimity. God has planted within each of us the call to greatness. You have been created for something very special. It's up to you, with God's help, to activate that and find out your purpose and your calling.
Love that.
The second virtue, because magnanimity is not enough, the second virtue is to always act with humility.
Okay.
And the way he defines humility is always do something in the service of other people. So magnanimity and humility together are the two most powerful virtues. Highly recommend the book. I've read it 3 times.
I love that. Well, I'll definitely be picking up a copy of that. Thank you for that
Sure.
recommendation. Now a more playful question, but you've got 12 books, right? You've been writing for some time now. If you had to pick one, and I know that's a nuanced thing, I know it's a playful thing, but if you had to pick just one to get in the hands of a business owner, what would that one be?
Um, let's see. It's a great question. I'm going to recommend the book that I wrote last fall, Becoming a More Thoughtful Leader.
Cool.
You'll notice by the title, and this is a theme with me, I really focus on being thoughtful and reflective.
Okay.
And this book is 22, 23 short chapters. I write 5-minute chapters, and it's just filled with reflecting on things that have really made a difference in my life.
Love that.
And it's very powerful leadership lessons, things that you can apply in your business right away. But I'll tell you this, and I hope your audience will listen to me on this. I don't spend a lot of time. In fact, I spend very little time thinking about where I'm going. I spend a lot of time thinking about where I've been and being fully present with people that I'm talking to.
Okay.
So I'm living in the moment, or I'm thinking about where I've been, and I mine a lot of gold from those that focus. I'm not chasing what's in front of me. I'm thinking about where I've been, because I know if I learn as much as I can and I'm really present, that is going to equip me to deal with anything. And that's
Yeah.
how I try to live my life.
Yeah, that's a fantastic point. I love that to be where your feet are. So
Yeah.
that's a great book. I've got it on my shelf. I'm excited to read it. It's my next one. Once I finish going through Practical Virtue, let me kind of close on these two. This is kind of where I like to land the plane. Number one, we love to consider the idea of commitments over goals within the podcast, right? A mentor of mine, Chris Hanks, an early podcast friend, a friend of the podcast, really emphasizes this idea around. Um, he takes it from the perspective of, as a husband, when you go to a conference, you don't tell your wife, my goal for the conference is to stay faithful to you. You say, no, I'm committed to staying faithful to you. It doesn't matter where I am, doesn't matter where I go. So we'd love to kind of take that perspective and say, okay, within our business, within our organization, instead of just what is our goal, it's like, no, what am I committed to? What am I committed to doing within my organization over the next 12 months? So what kind of commitment do you have? Is it another book? Is it serving your existing clients? What does that look like within your space?
So it's so funny. When you hear a question that you're not ready for, like the first thing that comes into your mind is usually the best answer.
Okay.
So 3 things popped into my mind,
Love
and
it.
this is what I'll tell you. The first commitment is to absolutely honor my priorities. And
Okay.
here's what they are: faith, family, health, relationships, and work is number five.
I love that.
And because work is number five, my work thrives because it's not my number one priority.
Amen.
Faith, family, health, relationships, and work. So that is a big commitment for me, and I try very hard to honor it every day. Second is loosely, I try to give away as many books as I sell. And for Practical Virtue, the book that we've been talking about, I've committed to give away 1,000 copies of the book this year. I just
Wow.
want the book to be read. I
I
just want it
love
to be
that.
read and acted on. There's no profit motive in this for me. I don't make any money on these books. Whatever I make, I use to buy more books to give away.
Cool.
So I want this book to be read. And I think the third commitment is something that my wife and I have really been adamant about, really since I started Serviam, is I give away 25% of the profits of my business to the causes that we care about.
Wow.
So our church, other nonprofits, we support autism-related activities. We're Catholic, so we definitely support our church and a lot of ministries through our parish. But I really try to identify with the great causes, and we give our time, talent, and treasure. But 25% of the net profits of our business goes to support that. So those are the big three commitments that I'd share with you.
I love that. So let's end on this, Randy, and I appreciate your time very much. Thank you for generously giving it to our audience and sharing your wisdom. Your books are incredible. You're a gifted author, and I appreciate you sharing and communicating that way. For those of us who enjoy reading, which myself is in that group, what's a piece of advice that you wish you would have had 10 years ago? So you're about 4 or 5 years into business ownership. What's a piece of advice that you wish you would have had then that's something you know now?
There's something that I think I stumbled into with God's help 7 or 8 years ago, but I sure wish I'd known this when I began my business.
Okay.
And I want to be careful not to be too subtle with this. I'm going to try to say it very plainly.
Sure.
Everything that you do in business needs to be symbiotic. Everything you do needs to support everything that you do.
Okay.
So, what I mean by that is my book writing and my blog post on that I write every week on LinkedIn support my coaching work.
Yeah.
My coaching work supports my writing. All of that generates revenue that lets me support the things that I care about. Everything is connected in your life.
Yeah.
So embrace this idea of symbiosis. If you're a business owner and you've got like 50 pies up in the air and you're trying to juggle them all, figure out a way to make everything you do support everything else that you do. And when I got that idea in my head several years ago and started to activate it, things became a lot more seamless, saved me a lot of stress. I probably could have saved a lot of hair, but that's a little too late for me. But I wish someone had taught me about the symbiotic approach to business. I get it now, but I wish I'd known 15 years ago.
That's a fantastic piece of advice. And I'm so glad that you shared that, right? The synergy, living within that mode of every piece of things that my hand is in. The CEO typically for a small business owner, you're the chief everything officer rather than the chief executive officer. And so getting into that mentality of no, I'm going to create synergy within the things that my hands are in. And if there's not synergy there, I'm going to let it go. As hard as that may
Yes.
be, I'm going to let that go. And I love that one of your commitments is your faith, your family, your health, your relationships, and then your business. That as you have business opportunities, which is number 5, as for anybody who's not able to count, number 5 there, any business opportunity that does not support the first 4, the lens at which you're committed to, it doesn't get done. So you said you get to travel, you used to travel the world, or at least the nation, and speak, right? What an incredible opportunity. So many people, myself included, want to be able to do that, but it did not fit within your first 4, so you're not doing that as much anymore, if not any, right? It
Right.
gives you the opportunity to evaluate instead of it just being a shotgun approach. Now you can be more focused. Now you can create some synergy. Now you can get the momentum, which John Maxwell says is the best gift to any business is momentum, right? That's a superpower that when you're doing these things now, it's like, okay, but when I do this, it affects everything in a positive way. I love that so much. Randy, thank you so much. if somebody wants to get in touch with you, please don't give us a cell phone number, but how do they get in touch with you? If they're looking for coaching, if they're wanting books, if they're wanting to connect on LinkedIn and follow your blog posts, how do they get connected to you?
Really, the best thing to do is to follow me on LinkedIn. You can connect with me there. Mention your show just so I know the connection. My website is Serviam, Serviam Partners.com. Very easy to access me there and learn about my work. All of my books are available on Amazon, but those are really the primary places to follow me.
I love that. I'll make sure all those are in the show notes. Well, thank you, Randy, again for coming and sharing. I look forward to continuing a friendship with you. And thank you, everybody, for joining us today on Market Mavericks. We'll see you soon. Thank you for joining us on this episode of Market Mavericks. We hope you're walking away inspired and ready to take your own adventure to the next level. Don't forget to follow the show to keep up with our latest episodes. And if you enjoyed today's conversation, make sure to subscribe, share it with others who could benefit. And hey, if you know a market maverick who has a story that needs to be heard, please drop their name in the comments. We would love to bring their insights to the show. Until next time, keep pushing boundaries and leading with purpose.